Go. Hello, everyone. Apologies for being 5 minutes late. We had a few technical issues along the way, but we're all good now. We're all ready to go. So, Mac, good to see you. How are you doing?
It is good to be here, Jason. It's been way too long since you and I did a LinkedIn Live together. So I am looking forward to this conversation and seeing where it leads.
Yeah, me too. Me too. I'm always excited about these conversations, and it's good finally to get back on track with that. And apart from the technical issues, but that makes us good creative thinkers when we can actually think around the issues. And funny enough, Matt came on just a few minutes beforehand, and all of a sudden his computer reset. And I went, no, but that's all part of the fun as well.
Absolutely. It's don't avoid the updates if you can until the last minute, and don't take a coffee break thinking you can leave your PC to itself. Anyway, it's all good. It's all good.
All good. So we had this conversation a while back, and I noticed on your profile earlier on this a couple of months ago, actually, and you did a post which really intrigued me, Mac, on how your time can be sabotaged by other people. By I think you did a post. Now I wasn't sure whether it was a poll or something like that about, can I take a minute of your time?
Yeah, the pick my brain post.
Yeah, pick my brain post. That really intrigued me because I've come across that loads of times as well. And it's one of the things in business that we've all seen. We both have seen.
That was me.
That was is someone else taking a moment of your time as well?
No, it's all good. Yeah, I mean, the pick my brain post. Like in business, we can get dragged into so many different directions.
Yeah,
and yeah, I think there's a difference between being, and I was told this by a coach a while back about, the difference between, like, when people ask you the question, how are things going, and you say, yeah, good, it's busy. Yeah. And there's busy work, and then there's productive work. And it's so easy to get confused between the two. So I'm glad we're discussing the subject, because we had a few conversations around all the different things that people don't realize before they step into business about, the different hats they may be wearing, or, how to set boundaries in business and all of those things. I mean, what are the things that kind of come to mind to you?
Yeah, because you think that you're doing, like, we're both good people, we're both nice people. And the way I like to look at things in life and in business, like, you get to a certain point where you feel like you should give back a little bit, and it's you like to help people every now and again, and that is fine as well. So I always go, it's the yin and yang, and you put out to the world and you give back, which is great. But there's certain points where it's pushes it a little bit too far, especially when we're busy. I mean, we're productively busy. We're actually doing something to make a difference to our clients and our customers. But then there's unproductive stuff. And I probably can talk about a conversation that I had earlier on in a few moments, because it really annoyed me. But we'll get to that in just a few moments about sucking time, when I knew the answer to it. So there's a bit of balance there between being busy but being unproductively busy by people sucking your time. And I believe, and I've looked at this before, and I did a post on this as well, is we have to be, what's the best use of our time right now? And as a coach, and also being coached, is what is the best use of our time right now? And then when we have a look at that in the balance of, what are we getting paid? Are we getting paid today for doing work that we love to do? And that balancing time when people are taken away from being productive.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'd love those people that are watching or maybe watching the replay to comment if you've gone through that process of evaluating your work week and looking at billable hours and realizing, because when you work for yourself, there's a mindset change. And as an employee, the actual benefits, the big benefits of being an employee, because you have structure, you have timing, you know what you need to do, you know what the outcomes are.
Yep.
The moment you move to working for yourself, you have to put all those structures in place. And because they're not there, it's very easy to say, well, it's my time. I can, I don't mind helping this one and helping that one, and doing a little bit of this and doing a little bit of that.
Yeah.
And before you know it, if you have to imagine, because I believe there's two roles when running your business. There's the one where you're running your business, but then there's also the having to be accountable to the outcomes for yourself as well. And it's almost like you have to sit at a table and imagine you're sitting on both sides, and the one side being the person who's running the business, making sure that it's profitable, viable, all those things. And then the person on the other side of the table who has to justify their time and has to be accountable to the outcomes and be able to say, okay, well, this week we had X amount of appointments. These are the outcomes. These are the ones that are profitable. And this is our goal or target. At the end of the year, this is when we start reflecting on next year's goals.
Yeah.
Where do you typically see people, because you're in coaching, but also with the sales side of things.
Yep.
And I know you deal with a lot of sales side where people actually are the business owners and sales.
Yep.
And then there's people that are in sales in an employee role. What are the differences that you see there when it comes to the mistakes people make in business?
That's a challenging question there. You've been on that coaching course again, haven't you? Well, let's think about that. If I'm coaching, like I'll give you an example. I was coaching and a little bit of training actually. So my life is split between the two. I do a lot of coaching and I do a lot of training as well. So there's a split between the two. When I speak to employees, what I'd like them to think about is them as self-employed people. What I'd like them to think about is they get a basic salary, which is whatever it might be. They also get the overheads, and the overheads are the marketing. The overheads is the accounts team. The overhead is your fancy laptop and your phone and everything else. So you've got to justify your existence as a self-employed person or as an employee. Everything else has to be covered. And then as the business, they probably look at 4 times everything to make profit, or in and around that figure. But to see themselves as a self-fulfilling business and to create that to hit their numbers, and on top of that, they have to understand the strategies of a business in order for them to really understand other people's business and actually help them to get what they want. I'm alluding to challenging people when they start to think about just sucking other people's time out. They have to see them as self-employed. On the other side of it, if you are self-employed, we have to look at both sides of it. And I always like to think, what's the best use of your time and my time now that we can create significant value either for each other that is a win-win, the Eisenhower matrix, where that win-win matrix, which is also done in time management with Stephen Covey. How can we get to that win-win where we're both not sucking each other's time out? So when I coach people, I want to make the impact that is justifying their time, even if it's for the hour that I'm working with them. I've got to make sure that they are productive after the time. In the time, they're thinking about the ideas and the strategies, and they're being challenged on where they actually are and what they're actually doing to change their approach to be a better version of themselves. That's what my ideal situation is. Does that sort of answer your question? I went about it in a roundabout way.
Yeah, I mean, and it becomes the flip side, really, because you've got employees that you try to teach to think like a business owner.
Yeah.
And then on the other side, you've got business owners who, need to look at that productive time and the outcomes.
Yeah.
And it's understanding what those structures look like, because it's the old saying, if you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
And I see one of the things that we were talking about a while back is, as an example, the emotional reasoning to become a business owner.
Yeah.
You've got a bad day at work, you butt heads with your boss, and you think, you know what, I can do this better. Off I go. I'm starting my own business. And we were talking about, how many domains, as an example, must be registered out there for people that, had that emotional response and went and just registered their business or registered that domain with the intention of doing something. Maybe waking up in the morning and thinking, I need to pay the bills, or, the kids need X, Y, Z, and then maybe, rethinking things. But there are a high percentage of people who start businesses without knowing these basics, because they may be good at programming, but no idea how to do the marketing or the sales, or, great at sales, but terrible at admin. And, I find a lot of salespeople are.
Hello.
So, they get halfway through the year and all of a sudden people are saying like, hey, have you paid this? Have you paid your tax bill? Have you paid your water bill, your electricity? It's like, hey, I'm getting out sales, Somebody, well, hold on. I fired those people that were dealing with that because I left my job. So, there's so many things to think about. You mentioned earlier that there was a situation that got you a bit frustrated. What was that?
Really, it was a conversation that someone was pinging me earlier on, and they were saying about automation and this, that, and the other. I shouldn't have been involved in the conversation, but I was just tired today and fatigued. And I started replying back and said, automation is great. We'll make your humanation. And I said, I don't think you can, because I get automated responses all the time saying, Jason Cooper, the sales relationship code, maximum impact, blah, 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 blah. You know the emails that you get. You probably get the messages. And said, no, we can. And you humanize the approach and all of that. And talking about sucking the hours of my time. And then the final statement is, she went into saying, we can get you leads and all that as a coach. I said, you haven't read my profile at all. You've just wasted my time. And that is just ridiculous, of wasting time by not doing your due diligence. Like when I train and coach people, I train them to look at people's profiles and understand who they are before they start wasting people's time. It's like when we do outreach, or we're doing a phone campaign, or we're doing something. When I train, I did a training session last night, pretty much on that. And it's just like, when you see people doing it so badly and wrong, it's like, read my profile before you start wasting my time. And you wasted my time. My time is money, effort, and I'm always open to speaking to salespeople because I'm a salesperson. I think we all are. But when it's done so badly and horrendously, they're talking about we can save you time by outsourcing a bit of AI. No, you can't, because you did it wrong.
Well, it's interesting that you say that, because I'm laughing in the back here, because on Friday, I had a call from an automated system.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God.
And using AI and automation. And I'm always, I like testing these things to kind of see how far technology has come.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I do, like you said, the basics of doing a little research goes a long way. Yeah. And it changes the impact of the conversation and opening the door. You know, people have become, because of not only AI and everything else, but people have become so much more intelligent and aware of the typical pitches and the typical lines that people use. That, when we get those LinkedIn messages, as an example, that say, "Oh, we work with people like you." Now, that for me is like ultra lazy. It's like, because they basically just gone, well, we haven't looked. What they're saying is, I haven't looked at your profile. I have no idea who you are, but I'm hoping you're the right one. So this is spray and pray. I'm throwing a lot of shit at the wall and hoping something sticks.
Funny enough, Mac, I'm just going to jump in there for a sec. I checked their profile out, and I'm actually thinking of naming and shaming. And they didn't. They're too bloody lazy on their LinkedIn profile not to put their company name in there. When they added it in there, it goes blank and fuzzy because they haven't done the business name, and it's not even
connected to their actual real company.
You haven't even added your name into that. Oh my God. You started me off, didn't you?
But there's so many of these things. It's automation has made a lot of people so lazy.
Yep.
And this call that I had on Friday was, it started off with, "Hi, I'm Jonathan. I'm calling because of, and I'd like to speak to the homeowner." And I thought, okay. So I said, "Can I just check, is this AI?" "No, my name is Jonathan and I am not AI." And it was like so clearly AI and automated that it was, anyway. If you're watching this and you want me to actually post the audio of the conversation,
oh yes, please,
because I did go on to say that I was Donald Trump somewhere along the line, and asked them to call the White House. Anyway, if you want to listen, put it in the comments. Let me know. Maybe I'll actually take because I recorded the audio just for my loss. But the thing that came down to me again was the laziness of research and preparation. When it comes to running your own business, there's so many processes that you need to have in place, but also boundaries that you need to have in place. And like you just said, I love the fact that you got a bit frustrated and annoyed there because it is your time. But I want people to realize that when they're watching this, that's what they're doing to other people when they're not doing research. I always talk about the conversion rate. If you had 100 prospects and you use automation, and you don't do your research, you might get 1, 2, or 3 opportunities out of the 100. Burn the rest, because they have the response that you have. They get frustrated. They see it's automation. They're not interested. It's bad timing, all the rest of it. But we also know that in reality, only 1 to 3% of buyers are in the position to buy at any given time. So the challenge with that is, now you might have those 2 or 3 people that are ready to buy. Jeff, absolutely. You might want the person to, you might have the person that's ready to buy, but because of the fact that you have the 1 to 3 that are ready to buy, by the time you get in touch with your automation, they've already done their research. They've looked around. They know what they want. So now what you're doing is you're negotiating purely on price, and it's a desperate trying to get it over the line. Whereas if you build relationships with those 100 prospects over time, as and when time is ready, they will see you as the go-to expert that they trust or know, like, and trust. Everybody's trying to take the prospect over the line immediately. It's almost like they're dragging them across.
This is where I'm on the balance right now with, I know we sort of drifted off our main core subject, but it is related to, as we think about AI, and I've tested it and you've tested it. I tested it on LinkedIn responses about a year ago, and it just kept coming up, and it was so textbooks. I just took it off immediately because it just didn't work. Because what for me, is, and probably for you, Mac, I like to be authentic in my approach, and I like to build trust and certainty based around myself. Like I would use GPT, and I think we all use some sort of GPT or Gemini or whatever there is, just to maybe clean up the language, word tune, and Grammarly, really good just to tidy up the language. And my language at the best time is terrible on writing. So if you can tidy it up a little bit, then happy days. But it comes from me. I've written it. Might just change a little bit of the wording around slightly.
Well, I think that's when it comes to the topic headline, pitfalls of business, is that's one of the most common things that I see when it comes to how people are trying to do business. They're trying to do it as somebody else or replacing themselves with another tool, because there's all that make £10,000 on automation every month. Don't do a thing. And it's like, the amount of people that buy into the get rich quick kind of philosophy. And don't get me wrong, there are lots of great business processes and methodologies that can make you good money, but people aren't giving them away for free. And we buy from people. That's the older saying, and we can all see it. In fact, if you're watching this and you've seen this, whether it be on LinkedIn or anywhere else, where that the post that was done is either automated or ChatGPT, and it doesn't reflect that person's personality, especially if you know them. It stands out like a sore thumb. And it's so important that in business we know what is it that we bring to the table and what we want to do differently, because that's why businesses are started, is because you have a better product, a better service. You see things can be done better, or you see things are being done so badly that you can make an improvement. All these different reasons. It's all there to serve a purpose.
Yep.
But if you just want to go out and copy other people, like I see that on LinkedIn, where and you'll probably see this, Jason, where you see somebody do a post and you go, where have I seen that post before? And then you realize they've just taken somebody else who is an influencer, copied and pasted their post so that they can get the love and attention.
But it doesn't work like that, though, really, does it?
No. And that's the thing, is the moment you find your authenticity and who you are, because people buy from people they know, like, and trust. Yep. And when you truly are focused on what do I bring to the table, how do we do things better? What makes us unique? That's why you see so many coffee shops and you think, well, why? I mean, there's already a Starbucks. Why should there be so many other coffee shops?
Yeah.
But I know some of the like local coffee shops that I'll go to, because that personal touch that they have, the friendly service, they don't use mass-produced coffee beans. They use a like locally, or there's something unique to it.
Yeah, agree.
And that is what attracts you to going there. But if they just opened another one and it's a fake Starbucks, then you kind of like, not that I'm promoting Starbucks, anybody, but and we're not sponsored by them either. But it's that kind of concept of finding that uniqueness. But yes, I guess the other thing that comes to mind is the fact that in order to be successful, you have to have that kind of replicatable strategy. But when you're using somebody else's, they've already gone through the pains. They know why they had to do the things that they do. I mean,
I was going to say, Mac, you really hit on the nail on the head today, because I was listening to exactly that today. Jeff Blunt, Fanatical Prospecting, and he was speaking exactly what you've just said, by being distinct and being different. But also, if you're all the same as Starbucks, okay, Starbucks, they've done great in what they do, but it's not a strategy that I would prefer. I prefer to go to somewhere that is trustworthy, has that human connection, rather than that repeatable thing, which is the same everywhere you go. Suits some people, it doesn't really suit me, because I prefer difference. And when we start to think differently in what we do, how can we be distinct and shine? in the area and what we do and our tone of and how we speak and how we communicate to the world, whether it's LinkedIn or whether it is other social platforms or our emails. Everything has to be congruent and backtracks to who we are and what we believe to be true in our world, on our skew of the world. There was another point, and I forgot what it is, but I will come back
It'll
to
come
that.
back. It'll come
That's
back.
good, because I'm being transparent here. We all fail at times for whatever reason, and it's good to be transparent because we're not perfect either. And that is another point to the side.
Yeah, it's interesting that you talk about that not being perfect, because I spent a lot of time in the personal development space, learning from different speakers and authors and things like that. And one of the speakers that I went to go and watch the one day, he went up on stage, and on video, I've always seen him like deliver these perfect deliveries, amazing talks. And now I'm sitting there watching him live, and I notice all the little idiosyncrasies that are not there in the videos, and obviously editing, wonderful. But we sometimes, because things are too polished, we assume, or we look at it and we go, well, it's good for him because he's had all these years of experience, or he's done this because of what he's been in this role, or we kind of talk ourselves out of why we can't do certain things because they are too perfect. Where the reality is that we're all human. And when I actually got to speak to the speaker after his event, and I came to him and I was like, "Hey, I noticed a couple of things that you don't normally do." And he went, "Well," he says, "the thing is, I've been doing this for 30 or 40 years. I could do this with my eyes closed." He says, "But if I remain perfect all the time, other people in their minds will think, well, I can't do that because of." He says, and when they see me mess up and be authentic and real, they realize that, oh, hold on, I can do that. Or it's okay to stumble or make mistakes. So I think that one of the biggest obstacles to a lot of businesses is the wait for perfection. I mean, I don't know if you've seen a lot of that, Jason.
Yeah, there's and I've worked with a lot of people, and they want to be perfect and they want to see perfection, but we know there's no such thing as perfection or perfect. It's just that you get to a point where you think you might be, and you look at it and go, "I'm still not perfect." It's like that procrastination of writing a LinkedIn post, and we've all been there. Or you're stumbling, picking up the phone and trying to speak to a client. I want to be perfect. And I failed loads of times picking up the phone to clients. And I went, damn, I shouldn't have said that. I know I shouldn't have said that. And I start giggling to the client. I said, look, I messed up. I'm sorry. I teach this stuff, but then again, humor is the best way to overcome in some respects. And we are absolutely right. There's no such thing as perfection. I was delivering a workshop in London in November, and I was sick as anything. I was absolutely really, that bug that's been flying around. The client paid for me in advance. The flights were paid. The hotels were paid for 2 nights. I had to go. There's absolutely no reason that I wasn't going to go. And I just stood up there, and it's 12 till 6, and I delivered part of the workshop. It was on communications. I couldn't even get my words out. I felt so sick inside, but I just felt, and I was saying, even before I started, I'm a bit sick today, but I'm going to stride through and going to do my absolute best. And I tried my best to be perfect, but the perfect just wasn't there because I just felt so sick by it. So I put on the air of vulnerability, because sometimes bringing in people to step into your world and how you are, and everyone actually appreciated where I was and go, look, you did a great job. I know you're not quite as where you normally are, but I think you did an incredible job at what you did. So I was trying to strive, but it wasn't gonna. I just, when you're not 100% correct.
Yeah, and I
Don't
think
feel right.
this is things like this are so important because when and I love the example you use of the LinkedIn post where you're waiting for the perfect one, or like yourself where it's easy not to because you're not 100% perfect, feeling that and showing up's half of the challenge.
Yeah.
And what people forget is especially in this well polished AI centered world that we're currently in, people have this longing for connection. They want to be able to see real people. They want to be able to see that it's okay not to be perfect because they're maybe at the same place where they're striving, they're building, they're growing, they're making mistakes. And this is one of the things that I urge anybody who's watching who is on that journey where they're thinking, when I launch my website, I'll then start. Or when I do that, if you're thinking about that, start posting today. Because take people along the journey with you. Because that's one of the most beautiful things I've seen. And
Love that.
Historically, I mean, you could probably think of loads of people that are successful now, but you remember when they first started and the challenges and the things that they were talking about and the questions they were asking along the journey. Nobody started at 100,000 followers or 1 million followers. They all started in the same place at 0, and they had to build that up, which means just because you're seeing a polished product today doesn't mean it was polished when it first started. It had to grow. And if you haven't done anything yet because you're waiting for that perfect moment, go out and today just tell people where you're at, where you're striving for, the challenges that you have. Ask questions from other people that are experts in the industry, like, hey, have you faced this? I'm struggling with X, and I need to get to Y.
Catherine Hall put, every week I find myself criticizing my recordings of my Wednesday morning chat due to not being perfect.
But here's the difference. You're doing it. How many people are out there saying, I'm going to do a book chat, but they end up never doing it because perfection never comes or life happens.
Yeah.
So well done.
Well done. Yeah, absolutely. And I really like what you said there, because that really reminded me of an old cassette that I had, the ones that you push into the machine.
Have I listened to a few of those?
Brian Tracy.
Oh,
and he was saying,
I had that.
You probably know what I'm going to say there. He was saying, don't wait for your business cards. Don't wait for your compliment slips. Don't wait for your letterhead. Don't wait for whatever. Just go out there and do it, because you're procrastinating for easy for me to say, procrastination's sake. And you're not going out there. And exactly what you said, like, even if you just do it and you haven't got your website, you haven't got your email address, or you haven't got a perfect email address, just at gmail.com, or whatever, or you're waiting for you to do your live video and you won't do it because you're overthinking it. And it's just like the over procrastination. And I always think, and this is what I've learned over the years, it's just to do it and then think about it afterwards. Obviously, in some cases, you have to think about it. But when you're doing things like this, I think the more you think about it, the worse it's going to be, and you will never actually do it. It's like Toastmasters as an example, or if you're networking, be the first one to introduce yourself to someone as opposed to holding back. Or if you see people like side by side and they're having a conversation, just introduce yourself. More often, it's a networking and they're actually okay to have a conversation with you. But if you're not, and you're just sitting in the corner and you're flicking through your phone and whatever else you might be doing, you're procrastinating it again because you haven't made that first step.
I think, that's so powerful, that whole first step thing, because the noise in our head, it's amazing the things, like if you had to be a third party watching yourself listening to these thoughts, you would literally be like flabbergasted at some of the things that you're actually letting you hold your back.
Yeah.
And it's an interesting way to kind of remove yourself and look at it from an outside perspective and go, is like, am I being realistic here? Like, is this a valid thought? Like, it's so easy to overanalyze things.
Yeah.
But that just in the moment, taking a deep breath and going, I'm doing this. I'm here for a purpose. I said this is why I'm here. Don't think about it. Just crack on. Like networking events, like you say, I see that all the time. People standing in little clusters, and it's normally the people that are standing in clusters are also trying to protect. They're building like little safety zones for themselves. So when you're the one that just walks in and goes, "Hey, my name is," how you guys doing? Because they're all there for networking. They're desperate for somebody new to come in the mix. The chances are they're huddled up with somebody else they saw at a different networking meeting or somebody they came with, and therefore they're actually not going to walk out with any added value.
Yeah. All you're doing, you're speaking to the people that you already know because you feel comfortable. And sometimes you just have to step out of your comfort zone. And that's always the hard thing to do, is to really go, well, I'm here and I have to make that conversation. Because otherwise, what I learned many years ago is when I started business, and I'm going to type back into that. When I first started business, I would go to everything, even if it was non-relevant to me. I'll go to every conference, every exhibition, and I would go, yeah, got to get there and speak to people and stuff. And then in this time back to wasting my time, I don't do that anymore because I'm tying it back to what's the best use of my time. But we have to do things to get really out of our comfort zone, to find out our little niche and to find out what works and what doesn't work for us. And when we start to think about, and I used to drive all over the place and fly all over the place and just go, why am I doing this? And I get there and I go, this is a complete way. I'm speaking to all these people, no interest to me whatsoever, and having these conversations and coming out with loads of business cards with no relevance to what I want to do. But the good thing is, what I did do is I learnt what to do and what not to do. And that just comes with experience as well of what's in it for me and what's the best use of my time, because I keep throwing that back to myself. And also my biggest question is, so what, as well?
Yeah, I think that's a very important question to ask, because once you if you can't answer that question of so what, and know like what's happening next, and where you was talking about like all the different things that you can easily get pulled into, and that importance of the people that you surround yourself with. Sometimes you can surround yourself with other business owners who also on their own mission. They're trying to figure things out, and they found something that works for them, and they pull you into going to their same exhibition or the same event or the same, and if you make a mistake, again, you just, so what, these things happen. But having that clear, and we've had these discussions in the past about the clear why. What is the outcome that you're looking for? And if that aligns, great, and you are going to need to make a lot of mistakes on the way. But be prepared to know that some things aren't, like you say, so what, like some things aren't going to work out. But if you don't try, you don't know. And that whole thing in your head about, well, like we were saying about waiting for perfection. I'd love if anybody is listening to this, if they just go, and maybe you've been waiting to do a post because you're waiting for perfection, or you've been waiting to start some process or something in your company that is going to be something that will make a difference once it's perfect, but you're going to start go out there and be prepared to make mistakes. Because if it's perfect first time, that's like winning the lottery. And then the chances are you're going to be disappointed somewhere along the line, because I'd rather make the mistakes and be able to learn the signs that I need to be aware of as I go along than have this situation where it's happened to a lot of people where they built an exciting business, but because they weren't prepared and they didn't go out and make too many mistakes and were afraid of certain things, didn't see the signs of where things go wrong.
So as a coaching question, Mac, is I would always say, how do you know? That's a big default. If they go into, and they talk about blah, 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 and the reasons why you're not doing it. And well, how do you know it's not going to work? You don't know, do you? What's always try to reframe what's the best thing that can happen rather than what's the worst thing that can happen. What's the best thing that can happen if you did it? So plant them into the future. We go, well, if it works and it fails, at least you know not to do it again. But at least you've tried to do it and you've done it. And you never know, it could work out really well for you.
Exactly. So, for those people that are watching with the topic of pitfalls in business, now, some of you would have made a lot of mistakes. Some of you are probably trying to avoid making mistakes and therefore haven't taken the step into wherever you want to be as the next, moment for you or the next chapter. But I'd love to hear in the comments, what are the things that mistakes maybe you made that you wish other people would be aware of so that they don't make them, or mistakes you've seen other businesses make maybe over and over and over again, where for you it's like, it's so obvious, why are people doing this? Go and share those in the comments, because who knows, maybe somebody's about to make the mistake that you've seen copious amounts of times, and you could save them maybe a day or maybe 5 years worth of misery trying to do the same thing. Because that's one of the things that is so important, is being able to learn from others and share and ask questions. And we're on a platform with 1.2 billion people. Somebody's going to know the answer to the question that you might have or the challenges.
I would have thought so, yeah.
So, use it effectively.
I've been actually pulled up. I made a post a while back and I put it out and I went, blah, blah, blah. I went on my merry way and I forgot about it. And then someone messaged me and said that you made a couple of typos in there. And I went, oh my God. And I looked at the post again and I went, oh my God. So I had to go back in there and redo it all because I made a complete balls of it. And he didn't read. It was probably part of my dyslexia kicking in. And I just looked at it and I went, yeah, you're absolutely right. I just looked at it and I read it and I went, oh yeah, press button and go. And I carried on with my life and went back in. It's only because someone prompted me and I went, holy moly, what have I done?
I love those. I've had this happen a few times because, I relate to the dyslexia thing, and thank God for things like Grammarly and everything else. But as an example, I will do like a brain dump of everything because I'm concerned that I'm going to miss a point. So I put it all out there, and then and then it's and I sometimes use like audio to text, so voice to text.
Yep. I do.
And with this accent, I did this once, and I actually sent my mother-in-law a message, and I was driving, and I thought I'll just use voice to text, no problem.
I've been
she sent me a response along the lines of, "What the hell's happening? Phone me now. Is everyone okay?" And I thought, what is she on about? And I read my message, and I was like, wow, because of my accent, it had changed certain words. I said that there was like mayhem happening and war and things are falling apart. And I read this and I was like, that's nowhere close to what I said. and I hit the send button. But these things happen. But when we make mistakes, it's an opportunity to kind of go, hey, I made a mistake. This is what I meant. What are your thoughts? Because we're human after all. And if everything was so perfect, we wouldn't have comedy, we wouldn't have drama, we wouldn't have conflict, we wouldn't have happiness. We would there's so much to take into consideration. But anyway, I can go off tilt there.
So people that are listening, hopefully 1.2 billion people might be listening to us right now. Well, it might be. It'd be interesting to get some comments into the chat about where you are actually on your journey and what you might have done before, and you learned from it because you did something and it wasn't perfect. Because I know Catherine Hall posted this a while back in the chat, talking about her inner critic and why she wants value and authenticity on the perfection. But again, there's no such thing as proper perfection. I don't think will reach to that area. And I want to tie it back into, because my brain, like itself, goes all over the place. And I was just thinking about a client, and this is probably going to loosely tying it back in to a little bit of a segue here. But I remember a few years back, an old client that moved on to somewhere else contacted me, wanted me to do a webinar for them. And for some reason, I agreed to it, but I didn't agree to getting paid for it because they suggested that, we get a lot of work out the back of it. And sometimes I've done that. And regrettably, I did it. Took me a while to do it. And regrettably, it didn't work. And I wasted my time by doing that. So that's talking about justification of my time. What's the best use of my time? And a little bit of feedback and feed forward into how I can justify my value, my time, my experience, and my 20 years of failing and getting some of it right, getting some of it wrong, but actually exposing that to going, I know my value and I know my worth. And it's also, can I take a minute of your time type of scenario is wasting my hour, my time. And someone else actually contacted me earlier this year, wanted me to take a day of my time to do a training course for students. And pitch was, I didn't do it. Pitch was, these students will eventually get into these tech jobs and all that. I was going,
one day, 10 years down the line.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what I thought. And it was exactly what I said to him. I just at the end of it, I went, pay me $2 or $3 grand and I'll happily do it for you. I'm more than happy to do that. But again, what's the best use of my time? Justify my time delivering a workshop, which takes me 2 or 3 days to actually design and then a day to deliver it. And you want me to do it for free?
Well, here's something that I've learned from that situation, because I did that a lot. Yeah. So, asking the question, because, when they ask, because, if you don't ask, you don't get, number one. So, good on them for asking. But what I found is when I reverse that question and they say, it's sometime in the future, and I'm like, are you so you doing this for free as well? And then they're like, what do you mean, am I doing this for free? It's like, well, are you delivering your side for free as well? Then I'm happy to do that if you're doing it for free. And they, well, no, I get paid for this role. I'm, the senior lecturer, or I'm the head of year, or the head of the society or the university, whatever. And asking that question, so therefore you've got the best interest of the students at heart, and you're being paid, and therefore you must have a budget for these things. And then it tends to kind of change the kind of lighting on it for them to, hold on, I'm not prepared to do this for free, but I want somebody else to take their time out to do this for free who has the expertise that I don't. And I recently had this with somebody who again was wanting to do the pick your brains thing, and when I found out they were trying to pick my brains to help the person they were paying to do the job, and I was like, so you want me to do this for free so you can pay somebody else to do what I'm helping you with? And they were like, they took a second, and then they were like, yeah. Anyway, a week later, they were paying me to do the job. But you've got to stand firm if you believe in your value. If somebody wants to book you, have a look at a trade-off, because maybe, as an example, a university comes to you and says, you know what, we want you to do this, we just can't pay you right now. That's fine. They've got resources that they may not be able to pay financially, but they may be able to offer you a room once a week or twice a week or once a month that you can use to run other classes and bring people in. So now you've got a venue that you're not paying for, or they might be able to run something in their newsletter that goes out to all their faculty, or there's got to be a trade. Because when there's nothing in it for them, they're the reality of them actually doing something with that information is very it's rare. You have to have skin in the game, as they say. So when people ask you to do something for free, free financially, yes, but not free entirely. There has to be a trade-off. And that makes it worth more to people. They'll remember and respect your time in the future. Whereas just go, yeah, I'll do it for free. They might remember you in the future to do another free one.
They will. Yeah, of course they will.
Yeah.
And you're absolutely right there. It's all about that positive negotiation, but setting your boundaries in the right way, but also framing the conversation that they would recognize that my time is money. My time costs exactly the same way that their time costs them. And if they're in a job or a role, they're going to get paid for that hour, those 3 hours, or that day, regardless. But they don't think about, oh, you do it for free. Don't worry about it. You can justify it. No, I'm sorry, sunshine. You can't justify that. I'm self-employed. And if you can't understand that, I have a tax bill to pay. I have my VAT to pay. I have my driving to there, and I have my insurance to pay. I have my phone bills to pay, and I have my electricity to pay. Like yourself, that gets that lovely basic salary. And good on you, but not good on me. So that probably brings us round to that 360 circle where we started from today.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, business is it's a colorful and exciting thing. But understanding your boundaries and your worth is so important. For business owners out there, that if you're finding and doing that kind of like you mentioned earlier, the calendar evaluation of how many hours are you working a week, and how many of those hours are you being paid for, and then why are you not being paid for the hours that you are still working, and understanding how can you be more effective with that time as a trade-off, because we leave so much on the table, and not knowing that we can, if we don't ask, we don't get. That's one of the things. But if you don't value your time, nobody else will.
I think that's a really good thing for us to think about. I think today we've gone stretched the ideas from where we started from. But what I do like about our conversations that we do have is we do tie it back in, but we do go off and start speaking openly about life, about just doing things with regards to procrastination on things. And then We speaking a little bit, and we touched on AI with my little rant on that. And we tie things about, again, it's all about justifying our time and our value and our worth and the best use of our time. There's lots of things that we both said, which is extremely powerful for people listening today. And I'm really excited that we've got back on and had these really good, powerful conversations that people can listen to and understand and think about it from their own. And I always like to say that ripple effect going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you've been watching this, and even one thing kind of stood out, that whether it's beneficial to where you're at in business right now, or maybe an answer to somebody else that is in business and needs that help, or just a change of view, drop that in. If you're not one of those people who like commenting publicly, feel free to connect with us and DM us. Coming to the close of the year, it's a good time to reflect on what you've been doing this year and how you're going to be doing things differently next year. Always love where our conversations go, Jason, because it's, even I don't know where they're going to go half the time.
No, I don't know.
But that's the exciting part, is literally just challenging and bringing different perspectives. And this is what we should all do, by surrounding ourselves with the right people that can stretch ourselves and make us look at things from different angles, so that we can grow and improve and stretch ourselves and ultimately make an impact on others and help other people.
Completely concur. I couldn't say it any better myself.
Amazing.
So thank you everyone today, and really appreciate that, and appreciate the comments in the stream from Catherine, Leslie, and Jeff Davis said a few words, Sean Michaels, and Leslie a few times, and everyone else. Appreciate that. Have a wonderful day, everyone.
Cheers, everybody. Thanks for listening.